Confirmed tornado touchdown, Canis Road, 38,000 block. We are watching this rotation. The tornado is reported to have just crossed I-40.
It's just been, it's nonstop.
It's all a blur.
And we have multiple vortexes on the opposite side of the river from us.
There's just something in the air that tells you something's wrong.
Tornado emergency for the city of Bologna. Tornado emergency for Bologna. More details momentarily.
Why did it happen to all these great people? Why did it happen to these great communities?
There are 2 houses completely swept clean.
It just seemed like it was neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood of devastation.
It was something I had never seen before.
Got a tornado Otto Road and Audubon. Otto Road and Audubon on the ground now.
The cellar door was shaking up and down.
I just kept saying, God, please keep us safe.
There was horror going on.
It's very, very, very bad.
Just covered such a widespread area.
It's heartbreaking.
It's an awful feeling.
We need probably 12 or 13 ambulances that were questioned.
There's nothing else we could have done.
Folks here are tough. They look out for one another. More than any disaster, it is that dedication, that commitment to each other that truly defines this town. As one resident said, we just say a prayer and then get to work. This is a testament to the strength of this community, the strength of Arkansas, and the strength of America.
I think viewers expect us to be stronger than some of us really are. I mean, we're fortunate enough to be invited into their homes every single night. And the stories that we present to them, sadly, are not comforting at times. And yet, I'm supposed to go on the air every night and present it in a clear, concise way to where I'm not really supposed to share my opinions or my feelings at times. Some stories, you can't escape that. It hits too close to home. And it hurts. And it's not easy. And some stories hurt more than others. This is one of them.
In the days leading up to that horrible Sunday night, it became increasingly apparent to me that a lot of the elements were coming together for some rather significant severe weather across Arkansas.
On Friday, before the storm, Fox 16 issued a severe weather alert day, which is what we do when it appears as though weather may become severe or might become a threat. Try to raise the alert that, look, Sunday could be a pretty serious situation. It's going to be a day that people really need to pay attention to the weather.
I was definitely concerned. I was definitely concerned if we did get thunderstorms develop, there were going to be tornadoes from those thunderstorms.
Now, severe weather coverage from the Arkansas Storm Team.
Hi, everyone. We're activating the Arkansas Storm Team on KARK4 and Fox 16 because of a tornado warning in the Little Rock metro area. Jeff?
We're tracking a powerful storm now moving out of Saline County into western Pulaski County.
When the tornado warning was issued, we were on the air in between 15 and 30 seconds because we were so ready to get on the air.
This is a tornado warning. The rotation has greatly strengthened with this storm just over the last few minutes.
This is a radar-indicated tornado warning. We don't have reports of tornadoes yet.
It went from a radar-indicated possible tornado to radar-indicated likely tornado.
Radar is telling us that there is very likely a tornado associated with this cell.
I was at a neighbor's house and was watching the weather. A conversation was going on. I was keeping a close eye on what was happening, what we were reporting, and noticed the sky getting increasingly dark.
It was pitch black. It was ominous. It was scary. And I've been here for 10 years, and I haven't seen a sky that dark and ferocious. I mean, it was eerily quiet.
And the more time went by, the darker it got. And I was watching television, and I'm thinking, I've got to go. The sirens went off. I text Tammy to get in the closet with our daughter and ran down the block.
The tornado has been confirmed on the ground by the National Weather Service and spotters. 5 miles southwest of Lake Maumelle, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour.
Tornado emergency issued by the National Weather Service in Little Rock, folks. Tornado likely on the ground.
We knew it was a dangerous storm. At that point, you just hope for the best. You see something like that, you just hope it doesn't hit anything.
Getting indications on radar of possible debris ball. Sometimes the radar can pick up debris that's being picked up by a possible tornado. Let's take a quick look at the radar, Jeff.
All right, well, take a look at what we have going on. We were showing you where on the velocity, where that circulation was, and right underneath that, we get an area of very high reflectivity. And what that could mean is that it's actually picking up, the radar is actually picking up debris from the ground.
It is very difficult when you're on the air describing things you're seeing on radar. Things like the debris ball that we talked about a lot.
That's such a scientific term, right? Such a generic term. It's debris. Well, okay, it's debris. Well, no, that word has a lot of meaning behind it because, you know, it's not grass and it's probably not trees. I mean, to get that on radar, you need objects.
Deep down inside, I knew that was people's lives. That was people's livelihoods. And those were people getting hurt. Those were people getting injured. And people very well could be getting killed under that debris ball.
Just southeast of Mayflower, tornado reportedly crossing Interstate 40.
Now is the time to take shelter. This is a tornado emergency.
You know, it really got real at that point that there was going to be a lot of people impacted by this.
You folks in Mayflower need to be taking cover immediately.
You know, the sirens died down a little bit and went back to coverage, and we had noticed where they were kind of said where the storm had just traveled across is where friends of ours live. Got in the car and drove out there and went down their road, immediately met with downed trees. People were running with chainsaws, so we knew they lived in that direction. I told Tammy and my daughter to stay in the car, and myself and another gentleman made our way through these trees and came through the clearing and saw the house was damaged, that they were in the house. But we didn't know where they were. Just started asking questions, you know, where are they? Is everyone okay? Then all of a sudden you start seeing familiar faces. And, you know, some of them in absolute total shock, distress, staring at a home that will never be the same. And what can I do? At that point, there's nothing you could do.
Homes being reported damaged, so we still have a confirmed tornado on the ground.
We're getting a preliminary storm spotter reports just to the south of Mayflower, exactly where that storm tracked over, of possible significant damage around the Highway 365.
It's not that it doesn't affect us, what's going on, but we have to put it aside.
It's a lot like a doctor in an emergency room. There's human suffering that goes on there, but the doctor has to be focused on the task at hand to do the best job he could.
The goal at that point is just to keep on going until the storm threat is over.
Valonia, I want you to take cover right now. This is a town that's dealt with tornadoes in recent history. This thing is going to pass very close to the town of Valonia.
And here we were looking at this big tornado associated with this supercell moving right towards the Valonia area, and we knew Valonia was going to get hit again.
Being here for the 2011 Valonia tornado and almost seeing the same thing on radar was difficult.
You folks in Valonia, over to Otto, the Hamlet area, Saltillo, as well as El Paso, this tornado is headed your way.
When I saw Valonia out there, the first thing I thought of is the kids. It's because That's how I know Valonia. I know it through the middle school, the elementary school, and all the great kids that I've met there. And those are the first faces that kind of pop up in my mind when I think of Valonia or Mayflower.
This is a very serious storm. It's very close to Saltillo right now, moving across Saltillo Road. This is moving in the direction of Valonia right now.
It's going right toward it.
Instantly began to think of some people in Valonia and also my dad as well, who lives just really close to that track of the tornado. And, you know, it was really hitting home then that there's people in this path that I know and love, and that, you know, they were in jeopardy.
Pat's dad lives up near Ward, or in that direction. I don't know exactly where, but it was in the direction of the tornado.
I pointed to him on the map where my dad lived, just north of El Paso, and he said, "Did you call him?" And I said, "Well, no, because, you know, we're working, we're in the midst of this, we don't have time to really, you know, take time aside and go call somebody." And he said, "Do it, call him.
Get him on the phone, tell him what to do, direct him to where he needs to be so he's safe."
You had that moment where, you know, you tell him you love him, and and I got off the phone, and, you know, you almost choked up, and teared up just a little bit.
We got to take care of ourselves so we can take care of you.
You have to leave every moment as it is, you know, leave no regrets, knowing that it might have been the last time I ever talked to my dad, but thankfully it was not.
Potentially some serious damage just south of Mayflower, right?
We started getting those reports out of Mayflower as the storm was heading towards Valonia, that there may have been a major strike.
I remember seeing the first picture that was sent in.
I'm shown a picture on the computer. What do you think? And my first reaction is no way. There's no way.
I guess we all kind of just didn't want to believe that that had actually happened.
This was a serious tornado. This was a big storm.
It appears, I mean, this appears to be very serious.
Showing significant damage.
From that moment on, it was just picture after picture after picture.
Once those first images started coming in, that hope that maybe it wasn't that bad, maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked, that hope disappeared. And you knew that it was an all-out tornado strike, and it was major.
This is Holly from Mayflower. Holly, what have you heard? What have you seen there?
Oh, it's terrible. The tornado hit our neighborhood. Their home's gone. It's terrible. It's like a bomb went off.
We all kind of hunkered down in here, and you know, fortunately, you know, thank God everybody's okay. There's no injuries that we know of here in this location. So.
We came on down I-40, it started getting really dark and really windy, and the rain got harder and harder. All the debris started hitting the vehicle, signs started blowing towards us. The car was rocking. We saw 18-wheelers turned over. We saw other vehicles that were just smashed, and the reason we could tell they were vehicles was because we saw the four wheels sticking up.
I want Gene to pan up a little bit. You can see some of these telephone poles just snapped in half, leaning over the road here.
We had the backpack, which allows us to transmit mobily, and we just started walking around and finding what we could find. And as we made it further into town, we started seeing more and more destruction.
We're hearing almost complete and total destruction. I actually talked with Congressman Tim Griffin. He was here at the scene. He actually stood in the exact same spot in 2011 when that tornado came through. He said destruction this time is worse.
Give us kind of an insight. What have you been seeing?
Lots of down power lines. Many structures are just totally destroyed. There have been some injuries.
I set up the live shot and we started going live, and we were just doing interviews and getting information at that point.
We're at River Plantation here in Mayflower. That's off of 365, where we're hearing that this is some of the worst devastation in the area.
A lot of it was panic and speculation at that point, so we didn't know what we could really believe, but it was pretty scary, the stuff that we were hearing.
There are people here waiting for their families because they're just not certain if they're okay.
We were just trying to get information out as fast as possible, and as difficult as it was that night, you know, we have to remember that there were people at home wanting to know how their families were.
We ended up getting on a four-wheeler with some people that were just out trying to survey the damage, and they ended up giving us a ride, cameraman and I, to here. We finally made it here about midnight.
The devastation here is immense. You really can't explain it in words.
And I just remember first coming into this neighborhood, and it was just devastation. Something I've never seen before. It looked like, it looked like a war zone. There's just kind of people walking around in a daze.
You can see behind me a vehicle flipped up, upside down, windows shattered. You can just tell from that picture right there the force of this tornado. As we walk up here to where some of these houses were, these were not mobile homes. These were manufactured homes. These were homes with brick, very sturdy homes, and you can see they've just been flattened. There's nothing left but broken wood and drywall. You can see some washers and dryers. There are vehicles mixed in there. It's hard to see them sometimes, but there are vehicles in there. And you can only imagine what would have been your chances of surviving if you were in a home like this.
I did speak to one woman a few moments ago who told me she stayed in her closet until it passed. When she got out, she said her home was completely gone. She told me she doesn't know how she survived.
What those folks were having to go through. It was a very intense night.
You start to think about the people that were there. And I think the worst for me is to think about being through that and at the actual time the storm was moving through and the terror that people must have felt.
It's an awful feeling. I mean, it's a feeling of heartbreak because we've all been through this type of scenario enough to know exactly what it means. You know, people have lost loved ones. People have lost their homes. They've lost all their belongings. And you know that it's going to be a long and tough process for a lot of people. It's a loss for the community.
This tornado in Valonia, this is the mayor saying this, is worse than the one in 2011.
We had, Donna, tonight a natural disaster in the state of Arkansas. We have county judges asking for emergency declarations. We have probably scores and scores of people injured, millions of property damage, and unfortunately some fatalities have been reported tonight.
I hate to hear that anyone perished in this, and my heart goes out to those families. Gosh, you know, we're just gonna reach out and do all we can.
Arkansas has lost citizens to this storm tonight. It's always hard to see.
I'm coming down. I got it soaked. I got it soaked. There's a big step down. There's a log right below you. Step over, don't step down. There's a big step down. There's a big step down.
The next day, when I came out in the light of day, it was a lot harder to, it became a lot more personal. I was a lot more focused on each individual person I met and each individual home I saw that was destroyed. Each story I heard of loss and each story I heard of people coming together to help each other. It was heartbreaking and touching all at the same time.
When you're seeing it firsthand and you have these emotions of shock that it's actually happened, but there's almost an emotion of like you need to stay quiet, you need to stay reverent. People had perished, you know, in that neighborhood that we were in, and so there's almost like you had to stay reverent for them and respect for them, because this was a place that at that moment was a very sad place.
I came back to a harsh reality. And had to deal with those emotions, and I'm still dealing with them. Pain, sorrow, guilt. I think a lot of people are asking questions of why.
There's so many good people that were affected by this tornado, and it just doesn't seem fair. So I was a little angry, but sad mostly. Feelings of just compassion and just trying to grasp how I would be reacting if it were me.
You know, knowing people that lost their lives and people who lost their homes as well, just, you know, I felt it with them, I think.
On my mind, you know, it's been weighing, and I had my first nightmare about it last night, and I guess I needed to finish going through that experience, and I woke up in the middle of the night saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. because you wish you could have done all that you could have done. And I think we did do a lot. But you always question yourself, you know, what if we said something else at a different time? You know, what if we said, take shelter 30 seconds before? And what if we had switched the radar view? But you can't go back and second guess yourself because you're doing what you're taught to do. And I think the whole crew, everyone, did a top-notch job. And our job was to protect as many people as we could. Sometimes God has other plans. And you have to trust that you've done your best. But it does weigh on you. I mean, you know, I keep thinking about waking up in the middle of the night. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Because we want to save people.
Me, my wife, and 5 dogs.
All in there.
All in that right there. A board come through that door right there, and it went in and went out. She was on that side, I was on this side. I was sitting there holding it like this. Both of us, it was all we could do to hold it. Holding the door shut. Yeah. You could hear the just the roar of the tornado, and you could hear the just everything hitting the. It was unbelievable. So once it was all over, I crawled out, and it was just mass devastation. And this is pretty much what I seen. I could deal with my home, but when I walked out the door, because all you could hear is horns going off and people hollering, help, help, I've got a low pulse, I've got a low pulse, I need CPR. I walked out this door right here, and this was gone. It was just flat.
A lot like the victims, we go through shock too. And from what we've seen, and you bet the first thing I thought about was, gosh, if this tornado had happened in my neighborhood, my house would look like that. And I would only pray that my wife and daughter would have been in a good enough place to survive. A lot of people did the right thing in this tornado. It just was too strong a tornado for some of those folks and where they were to survive. And it's a sad thing that, you know, a tornado could be so powerful and even well-constructed houses. Going to the place we told you to go wasn't good enough, and that's kind of sobering, but we can't do much more than that. It's nature, and it's not picky. It does what it wants. It's just incredible damage. And then when you see that house that there was somebody in, and then that made it, and then you get to meet them, your first inkling isn't to interview them. You want to empathize with what they went through. And it just, I met that lady that lived in that house, and I felt compelled to hug her and just comfort her for a few minutes.
The siren started going off, so we sit there and got everybody inside and calm. And then went back outside. Me and my father-in-law stood outside for a while. All of a sudden, the sky started getting really, really, really dark, like almost pitch black. We got inside just enough time to get in the closet with the rest of our family. We sit there and prayed, and then we started singing, "Yes, Jesus loves me," and we just kept on singing, getting louder and louder and louder. As the tornado started getting closer and the debris started hitting harder, we just kept singing louder and louder and louder until it finally hit us. There was nothing left of the house.
Wow.
On the TV screen, it almost all looks small. Like it seems like it's things you've seen before on TV every time there's been a storm. But when you show up as a person, small, next to these gigantic buildings that have been blown apart, or in many cases, not even there anymore, you can't even find them, you really start to realize the power.
Like those.
You were under there.
Yeah, I was underneath around like right here.
And did it look like this when you came up?
No, because people have been cutting through and stuff. It actually was up higher, and like this was there, but like we were scooted on over, and it was like, we think this might be the hole that I came out of.
That you came out of?
Yeah. So we ran to the closet after we got all the animals, and then not but 3 minutes later, you could hear it ripping through the house.
What did it sound like?
It sounded like a tree being ripped out of the ground.
And at that time, I mean, could you imagine that you were going to see this? Did you think it was going to look like this when you came out?
Actually, I just thought that the bedroom would be gone, or there would be like a tree in the house somewhere. I never thought, and I thought my neighbors' houses would still be there, but when I got out, I was like, whoa, like it didn't even look like my road anymore. I thought I was like in someone else's neighborhood.
You know, I don't think I could even say it enough how like so surreal it was, because at that moment it was something I had never seen before.
I was out there yesterday and I was able to witness it for the first time outside of pictures, and I can tell you it's just you can't even put words to it what you see out there.
It was sad seeing people's homes, I think, was the biggest thing. I mean, you see the trees ripped apart, but knowing that, you know, someone was living in that home. And I was wondering at the point how, because I knew the first home I saw, these people survived. And I was just thinking, where were they? How were they feeling? Because I couldn't take in, if I were living in that home, how it would have felt to just be in that home while it was, you know, completely ripped apart. I mean, the only thing that was left was a closet. And I think that's, you know, when it really, you know, sunk in that, you know, people were really, really affected by this.
Where are we walking to right now?
This is the backyard here, and this was the downstairs of the house there. Over where the wall is black, it runs 12 foot this way, and it's 2.5 feet wide in there, and we had 12 people between his family that lived here, my family that lived across the street, my parents that lived down the street, and neighbors that came over before the storm.
This area that's surrounded by the brick, is this the basement?
That's the basement, but that's not the room we were in.
Can you show us the room we were in?
Yeah, we can walk in there.
So it's that little fine space.
From, yeah, right here to right there where that concrete is right there, those blocks right there. And this
Was it caving around? I mean, or has most of this been done after the fact?
This wall right here was doing this during, and the flames were coming in this way and down on us. And when we tried to, this wall stayed up. We made it out this little doorway right here, but all the stuff that was up top had blown down, so we couldn't get out that way. So that's when we started going through this way. It had blown part of those windows out that were back there, and they kicked the block out and got out, and then started trying to get everybody else out. And once we got them to the street, my brother, myself, and Jason Otts, we went that way. We sent them that way, and we went that way, started clearing houses from the end of the street back to here while this one was on fire. And it burnt down.
for me, it's the more you cover things in my job, the more comfortable you're supposed to get with things, you know, but the more and more I cover tornadoes, the more and more afraid of them I am. You know, like right here, this is an I-beam from a mobile home. I mean, it is lodged in that tree. That is unbelievable. This was flying through the air. This hits you in the head, this hit anything, you're just gone. And instead it gets lodged up in this tree. It's really, you know, it's easy to see it on TV and kind of just, they're just pictures. And then when you get out here and like you said, you see the stuffed animals and you see the baby dolls and you see, you know, the VHS tapes and the things that people really, you know, April 27th held dear to them, you know, and now it's just, it's trash on the side of the road. And then that's very sad.
Looks like there's a picture underneath this tree as well. I was actually talking to, wow, that's great. Look at this. Found a picture here from that house. I spoke with the lady earlier who said if I found any pictures, she definitely wants this because these are memories.
Hey, I don't know if this belongs to you, but I found this right near the tree.
My daughter. You're so welcome. I'm so glad I was able to find a picture for you. Actually, my photographer found that.
Thank you so much.
My name is Justin Roten, photographer at the station. On April 27th, the tornado hit. We were at my grandma's house in the storm cellar. You know, they always say it gets calm before the storm, which is, I mean, it's totally true, but I don't think I've ever noticed, I don't think it's ever been that calm before. I mean, we were standing outside and the rain quit, the lightning, the thunder, everything quit, the wind quit blowing. It was just eerily silent for about 30 seconds. And then here came the wind and rain again, picked up, and the sky got really black. And right by the tree line, I could see the right side of it, you know, way down the road. And I said, that's it.
And we knew exactly when it came. I heard, it was just a roar. I don't know how to describe it.
It sounded like an extremely loud thunder rumble that was just continuous for about 45 seconds. It was just really loud.
You could hear things, debris, you could hear things cracking, popping.
The cellar door was shaking up and down, you know, and banging.
We were all holding hands on a bench down in the storm cellar, just praying. My little grandson, he was saying, God and Jesus, please keep us safe. God and Jesus, please keep us safe. He just prayed and prayed with his little hands. When I opened the door, I saw my mom and dad's house, and it was just devastating. It just looked like a bomb had went off. It broke my heart, because that's my mom and dad's house, you know, and that's where me and my brother grew up at. And my mom's 76, and my dad just recently died in August. So I was thinking, I'm so glad he's not here to see this. You know, it was devastating. But it bothered me because my mom, I knew she didn't have a home, you know, and just losing her husband and then having to deal with no home, I knew it was bad.
The absolute worst story for me personally, I mean, and when you think of people dying, all of those stories, every single one is horrible. But I think what really got me, and it actually affected me on air, was the boy, the UCA student who sent the text message to his mother saying goodbye.
With the tornado barreling down on him, Jeffrey Hunter was able to send one last message to his mom right before he was killed. Fox 16's Josh Berry spoke with his mother today and has the story now from Valonia.
I didn't hear about the text message until we were interviewing her.
I have a text on my phone as the tornado was hitting. It was, goodbye, Mama, love you.
He knew it was... It really sunk in with me. And this is the way it is for everybody. When you see the image of that text message, and you put yourself in his position and think about how scary a situation like that might have been, and who you think about in your final moments. I can't imagine that.
I kept saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Let me know," and no answer.
Jeffrey wasn't the only person killed in his Valonian neighborhood, and there are flags up for each one of the victims. This one is Jeffrey's.
A little more than 3 years ago, my daughter died. My only child died. And losing a child is tough. So when I see another mother going through that, no matter what the circumstances are, it always affects me. It always does.
First he said, "Mama, I'm so scared." And I said, "You're with your dad. You're in the bathroom and you'll be safe." And I said, "Just hang on, hang on." And then next text, I told him, you know how you guys were saying what streets it was on, and I said it was on Coker and on this and this. I kept giving them information. And then the next text was, "Mom, it's heading this way, directly at us. I love you, Mom, goodbye." So, yeah,
It's just heartbreaking. Jeffrey Hunter was a senior at UCA. He was with his father and stepmother when the tornado hit. They were seriously injured in the destruction. Funeral services are this Saturday, 10 o'clock at Roller McNutt Funeral Home, and that is in Conway.
I called my mom later that day.
You know, it's difficult. It's not normal to insert yourself into someone's tragic situation. Talk to them about it, process it, write about it, and then present it on the air. You don't just walk away from that. It's as if you were standing on the sidewalk reading a newspaper and a horrific car wreck happens right in front of you. You don't stand there, look at it, and walk down the street as if it never happened. It's there. And for a lot of these guys, it's there, day in, day out. They don't go to a hotel and kind of put everything away. They go home, they get up, they come back, and they work long days. 5 days a week is gone. There's no such thing as 8 hours a day in news. And they're there and they're immersed in it. And I think they get, they look at it at the end of the day on a TV monitor when they're putting the story together. Photographers look at it through a small little television, and so it's not really real to them until maybe they're alone. The lights turned off, the microphone's put down, and they look around and they think, what happened here? What am I in the middle of? Because they're very much part of it. And then you have to think that all this is just heaped on them, and they've got to process it. And they have to process it, if not, it'll haunt them too.
There's a certain level of not wanting to do it again. There's a certain level of saying, oh, I don't know how much, like, because it's very heavy emotionally. It feels like a burden being out there when everybody is trying to put their lives back together, and I'm trying to make a story about it. And they're important stories, but I feel a little bit of guilt that I get to go home at the end of the day and they don't have a home anymore. I get to go home to my loved ones, and you know, some of them have lost loved ones, and I feel incredibly sad about that. This was a neighborhood. This was people's lives. This is probably somebody's cat that doesn't know this isn't their home anymore. And so it's incredibly sad to me because and now it's nothing, you know. So I just hope that things can get cleaned up as quickly as possible, but I feel really sad for the amount of loss that hit Central Arkansas the night of April 27th. You got a home, kitty? Hi. Hi, kitty. I know, kitty. I know. Poor thing.
Oh. Probably right in here, underneath, there was a little deal there, and he was probably in a little closet. The stairs came up over him, and he got in right in.
And they found him
about where that trailer's sitting there at. I know he was ready to go. And, like you said, you can't imagine how scared he was because he was by himself. But I know he had the faith, and he was ready, but we wasn't ready. I mean, he started taking me duck hunting when I was about like this right here. And I mean, I just worshiped the ground he stood on. He was like a second dad to me.
Anything you want people to know about him?
He was a great man.
My sister owned this house, and I'm her closest relative as far as geographically, and we're here to see what we can do and help her. And we're trying to find papers today, any kind of business papers, personal papers, and personal items.
We go to West Pulaski County, where a family is recovering and mourning the loss of 3 family members after that tornado leveled their 2-story home. The 3,500 square foot home was wiped out. You're looking at what is left. Basically just a pile of rubble there. Family 11 took shelter under their staircase, and when the tornado touched down Sunday, it claimed the life of Rob Tittle and his 2 daughters, Rebecca and Tori.
They were trying to get everybody else under the staircase, and everything was timing, so apparently those 3 were the last to get under the staircase.
Those are the kind of stories that we hate to have to bring to you, but it's reality. It's what this storm did.
Looking at this, I don't see how any of them made it. But hand of God, that's the only explanation I can come up with.
I was most likely going to be out in the field talking to these victims. And that's what happened. And I spent my first day in Bologna and went to a small neighborhood just off Highway 64. I first talked to a family, Richard Lynch, who had 2 beautiful daughters. One was 15, one was 6.
I'm joined by 15-year-old Logan and 6-year-old Lighton. I know this is extremely difficult, but kind of tell me, what was it like last night when you heard the sirens and you knew exactly what to do? What was it like in that storm shelter?
Well, we heard a lot of glass breakage and a lot of walls falling on top of the storm cellar and shelter and stuff, but it was terrifying.
And then when you came outside, what did you see?
My mom's car was gone, and all the walls were down, windows, every single window was broken, and our house was just destroyed.
But the 2 of you, you're both beautiful little angels, and you're doing well, so I'm happy to hear that.
And they just built a brand new house. And you look at their house, or what was left of it, and it didn't look that bad. I mean, they were one of the lucky ones. They had a safe room. But talking to him, talking to his daughters, I soon learned that just maybe a quarter of a mile away, 2 young boys, their lives were lost. Cameron and Tyler.
One Bologna couple lost a whole lot more than just things. They lost their 2 young sons.
Very sad. They were the youngest victims taken by Sunday's tornado.
As a mother, it's your worst nightmare to lose your kids. I'm sad. I miss them every moment, but I know where they are, and I know I'll see them again, and that's what keeps me going.
If we didn't have one another, we wouldn't have made it. God didn't leave us both here for no reason. I mean, we went through an F4 tornado. We were inside it, and for us to still be here talking to you guys today, I mean, it's a miracle.
I have a son. I have a daughter. And those parents have an unbelievable amount of faith, but I can't imagine not seeing my kids. I don't know how anybody gets through that.
A week before this, I literally told my husband, a week before the storm, if something happened to my boys, I would die. Literally die. And 4 days pass, and they're gone. And I'm here today. You know, God has kept me strong. He's given me peace that surpasses all. Because me, April Smith, that's not what you see. You see God through me.
I tell you what, the spirits may be down, and everyone here is struggling and extremely sad, but they're confident that this city will rebound and come out bigger and better.
It's hard. It's hard on everybody, but we've come as a family, you know, together, and just try to stay strong.
I was here in 2011, and I've never seen a group of people come together like this community does, Valonia.
I mean, amidst all this tragedy and sadness and heartbreak, there were great stories of people coming to help each other and a community coming together. It's important to show how strong Arkansas is in these times of crisis.
You really start to see what differentiates this state from other states.
What I noticed was I didn't see victims there. These were survivors.
There wasn't one image of anybody screaming, "Why me?"
I have never seen the kind of resolve and strength that I have in this state. It's impressive.
One of the stories that really sticks with me that wasn't somebody directly affected is I talked to an 82-year-old woman who was volunteering out in West Pulaski County. And she's 82, but she was picking up huge pieces of debris, huge branches, and dragging them over to the pile to help. You know, as people were cutting them down, she was picking them up and carrying them.
We went out to Mayflower last week. Okay. It just was such a blessing to me. It just touched my heart to see those people, and they were so grateful.
I felt like she was the kind of person people needed to see. She was kind of the face of hope.
I am showing them how it's done. I will be 83 October the 1st. Stop for a hug. I stay healthy. I walk a lot. Guys were cutting down the trees. I think I almost bit off more than I could chew with this one. The limbs have to be drugged, 2 big fire piles. That is a hot fire.
Yep. Do you know any of these volunteers?
I know none of them.
You know me, I told you who I was.
Well, I know her now, but before today, I did not know this woman. I'm telling you, this is an awesome lady. She's out working me today.
As long as there's a need, and as long as someone asks me, I'll be right out there with them, helping them too. I plan to, as long as the Lord gives me the strength to do it.
We couldn't have done it without them.
We're a family of God.
That's right.
Yeah.
It'll all work out.
Though.
See? She wouldn't even stop long enough to take a break.
Well, comfort can certainly come in all forms, and for each person, it is definitely different.
But musician Jimmy Rose is reaching out to those in need in hopes of comforting a lot of the victims.
Feel the wind blowing in from the west coast. Smell the rain falling on that blacktop.
We were very lucky to still be here. Good Lord was looking out for us.
I can't help but to cry. and I asked God why it had to be this way. There was no one to blame, but I feel your pain and the hurt you're going through. No one can explain it, why Mother Nature arranged it. Sweet Arkansas, I don't know what you're going through, but we're all praying for you.
I saw a group of homeowners who were fortunate enough to be alive. They gathered in a circle and began praying right in the middle of a driveway. The house gone.
God was with us. God was with us, taking care of us, and He's still with us.
Another town, another time, another place, another sad face. Trying to hold back the pain, man, they've lost everything to another storm, but they keep on living. And I can't help but to cry when I close my eyes and I ask God why it has to be this way. There is no one to blame, but I feel your pain and the hurt you're going through. No one can explain it, why Mother Nature arranged it. Sweet Arkansas, I don't know what you're going through. We're all praying for you.
God looked after us, let's put it that way. We're alive, house can be repaired, we'll be all right.